This camera is a little bit blurry. Came out of a garbage can. I got it sitting next to my computer. Usually when I talk to my computer, I talk to the upper left-hand corner, or I try to talk directly to the camera. In this case, it's staring back at me. It's kind of weird. Um, God, if only I had a mirror or something, then I could show you what my camera looks like. The problem is you can't exactly take a picture of the camera using that camera without a mirror. I could probably go to the bathroom, but cords and anyway, it don't matter. This video is about a child molester here in Chappell, Nebraska. Not just a child molester, but a child groomer. This guy's a really nice guy. You know, he's also very much a dork. He has a girlfriend who's 16, a little redheaded girl. She thinks that she's mature for her age. No. Now, of course, you can't keep a secret like that safe in Chappell, Nebraska. Not without help or people just not caring. There's a woman who used to be friends with him, and a couple of years ago, when this little redheaded girl was obviously not 16, well, she was underage. It was illegal, even with the age of consent. It was illegal for this man to do anything with this little redheaded girl. And I do mean little girl. We're not talking about a grown-ass adult, 18, 19, 20 years of age. We're talking about a little girl. And she wants to talk about how her dating this 31-year-old is fine because she's mature for her age. No, not if you're dating a 21-year-old or a 31-year-old. See, people wanted to crucify me just over the thought that I might possibly do such a thing. Meanwhile, this guy's full on doing it. He's got public support. This child molester has public support. This 31-year-old who is fucking a 16-year-old has public support. There is public support for this child molester. So there's a lady who, well, she's old enough. She's a grown-ass adult. She was telling me tonight about how back when that redhead was 15, how this child molester had threatened her life if she told anybody. Now, why was she telling me this story tonight? Well, she was going to tell me the story before, but where she works, there's constantly people in and out of the store. She told me that this man threatened to kill her. Back when the redhead was 15 years old, this other woman wanted to come forward, but this 31-year-old threatened her life. And what was she pissed off about? She was pissed off because her boyfriend at the time treated her like shit. Instead of her boyfriend being pissed off that someone was threatening his girlfriend's life, he wanted to bitch at her for it as if she had done something wrong. See, this is the thing, is that America is rape culture. You notice I rip women's ass too for supporting rape culture. Jeremy Meeks, that right there is a prime example of, well, somehow it's magically okay if you're good looking. You have no idea how many women on my timeline, when Jeremy Meeks had all that shit going on, women typing, he could rape me anytime. Holy shit, that's fucking gross. That's as gross as Amanda Payne and her mother saying they wish Johnny Depp would rape them. How fucking sick do you have to be? Of course, now looking at what Hollywood's got going on, I wonder if they'd say that again. By the way, these women are so obsessed and infatuated with Johnny Depp that they threatened to kick me out and never ever talk to me again because I didn't like Charlie and the Chocolate Factory. I thought it was a terrible performance by Johnny Depp. Can you imagine that? Oh, how dare you say anything about my beautiful Hollywood crush? What a bunch of goddamn wingnuts. So, we see all these child molesters scattering to the four winds. These assholes from Hollywood going to other countries to evade prosecution for their crimes. You know, we have a jurisdictional issue here in the United States that the police play on often. They did so in my cases, in Natalie's cases, where the letter of the law was not followed because they didn't have to. There was no supervisory anything. These officers are free to do what the fuck they want. And God help you if you're homeless or ever been called mentally ill, because that officer can literally rape you and get away with it. It's your word versus his. You know, Adams County, that's where Natalie Bollinger was killed. A lot of their officers have been busted raping people on their cameras. Body cameras, dash cameras. And who are the victims? Are their victims black people? Some of them are, yes. Most of them are not. But nearly all of them have the mentally ill tag. And the only ones who will ever have any satisfaction are the ones where the officer was dumb enough to record himself on his body camera. Like that officer in Adams County who took a mentally ill woman home. It's supposed to be a courtesy ride. Courtesy ride from somebody you're supposed to trust, and he raped the fuck out of her on the hood of his vehicle. And if he hadn't been a dumbass and recorded himself, it would have just been his word versus hers, and she would have lost. They wouldn't have administered a rape kit. They'd have taken her to a nuthatch, and they'd have had her injected with a B-52. You don't know what a B-52 is? I want you to look it up. I'm still standing up to these bastards. I want my life to be over every goddamn day, but until I'm dead, I'm speaking up. I'm not going to pretend rape is just a black issue. I'm not going to pretend the police brutality is just a black issue. I'm not going to pretend that the police murdering the homeless and the disabled isn't happening. I'm not going to pretend, just not in me. Almost half of those killed by police last year were homeless. Over half of those killed by police last year were considered disabled. So the police aren't going after black people specifically for their color. There are individual officers who are, yes, I am certain of that. However, their protocols is what we need to be going after. The protocol that says that it's all right for a police officer to try to break your wrist, to use pain compliance, aka torture, to get whatever they want out of you. There's got to be something we can do, but we have to do it. We. Now, this child molester in town, y'all notice I haven't spouted his name out on here yet. Well, he'll know pretty shortly. I gave enough of a description that the people here in town who call people every time I bring up their names, they'll probably let him know. Now, that guy, the child molester, who's now 16-year-old girlfriend, who he told me over a year ago, almost 2 years ago, that this girl was 18. Yeah, no, 2 years ago, this girl would have been 14. There's no statute of limitations on rape. There's no statute of limitations on child molestation. You think it's okay if the child consents? How young do we go on that? Is it all right for a 50-year-old to have sex with a 12-year-old if the 12-year-old consents? Is it okay for a 90-year-old to have sex with a 6-year-old if the 6-year-old consents? No, it's wrong. Wrong is fucking wrong. Now, that guy, if it hadn't been for him threatening that woman's life, he would have gone to prison when the girl that he's fucking was 14, 15. He would have been busted. But no, he's free today, free to do as he chooses. Meanwhile, this girl, like many of you, you think that if you can get an older man to have sex with you, it means that you're more mature. I'm going to tell you something about maturity. I'm going to tell you about Brianna Hernandez Cordona. She was extremely pretty. She was also way too young. Was she mature for her age? Not a fucking chance in hell. She sure as shit thought she was. And from the age of 15 till the age of 19, she pursued me. She pursued me despite the fact that Mobley headbutted her because he thought he saw a demon. She came and decided to lay on me. I was sleeping on the courthouse lawn in Boulder, Colorado. And I woke up with a beautiful young woman laying on me. And guess what? She was 16. I did not ask her to lay on me. I did not consent to her laying on me. I was passed out. When I woke up and I saw her down there, her head on my chest, I went off on her. It's like, hey, Bree, I'm an old man. You are underage. All right? We don't have to have sex. We don't have to have sex at all, or make any efforts towards it for people to victimize me just because of their opinions. Just because you are underage and you are trying to hang out with me, I can get in a lot of fucking trouble I can go to prison. You keep telling me you love me. If you fucking love me, leave me the fuck alone instead of trying to get me put in fucking prison. By the way, I lost my virginity to her when I was 33 and she was 19. You know how many times she showed up wanting sex before she turned 18? A lot. And guess what? Most of the guys I know, regardless of age, wouldn't have cared how old she was as long as they thought they could keep it a secret. Brianna Hernandez Cordona, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 5 years. 5 years of telling her no, 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 no. But she didn't get it. She didn't understand it. When she was 19, I finally gave it up. I figured she'd been pursuing me for that long. It was no longer illegal. And of course, Janine Barrett told me, you know what, Sean? The thing is that she's not going to go away unless she's conquered you. Like, so basically, I'm a trophy to go on her shelf. Yeah, Sean, she wants you as a trophy on her shelf. She is infatuated with you because, like most people, she can't have you. If she has you, she'll get bored with you and she'll move on. And that actually is exactly how it happened. I had sex with Bree, and then she went and found somebody else, and I was no longer a footnote. Unless she was wanting to talk to me about her newfound religion, Jehovah's Witnesses. Is she a bad person for being a Jehovah's Witness? No. Is she a bad person for finding me attractive? No. Were a lot of the things that she chose to do bad? Yes, absolutely. When a grown adult tells a child, you can't do that, that is inappropriate, that's the right thing to do. And that is what I did. Repeatedly, over and over and over and over again. So you can imagine how it feels to me being victimized as if I'm one of these predators who would do such a thing. Meanwhile, we got a predator here in Chappell, Nebraska, who's popular, formerly in the military, which, if you guys have been following my stories, you know there were more than one court date where a child molester was allowed to walk free with a slap on the wrist while the homeless sit in jail waiting for their court date. So we got this 31-year-old who is military trained, who was threatening to kill women if anyone told on him for having sex with a 15-year-old. 15. Now, I found out from this lady, because this guy had told me that his girlfriend was 18. This little redheaded girl was 18. And by the way, I actually don't know her name. And this lady who was working there, she tells me, yeah, actually, she's not 18. She's 16. She just turned 16. And she's not 18. And this is the very same woman who told me that when that girl was 14 or 15, that This man had threatened to kill her. Now she got rid of that ex-boyfriend who was pissed off at her instead of being pissed off at this child molester. She's rid of him, which is a good thing. She's got a boyfriend who's a lot nicer to her. But also, I've been friends with her boyfriend's sister for, well, over a decade. Can't believe it's been over a decade. And by the way, when I first met her, she was only 16. Did I go and hang out with her? No, we had mutual friends. They were in between our ages. Mostly because one of them, his dad, was having sex with my mom, who's a cheating asshole. And then again, my mother protected other child molesters like my little brother. So what can be done about this? See, I try to turn in predators for a reason. The sooner they're caught, the less victims they have, the less lives they get to ruin. Meanwhile, because police didn't want to investigate the crimes committed by their officers, those officers were able to kill people like Demetrius Shanklin. Those officers were allowed to harm other human beings, like Samuel Leon Lawrence IV, Wade Atkinson, and Michelle Rodriguez. You want me to be fine with this. You want me to let it go, let it go, let it go, let it go. If you're not understanding why I can't, then you're a fucked up person. You're a sick fucking puppy who supports child molestation. Fuck no, I'm not your goddamn friend. Don't molest children. It's pretty fucking simple. Of course, I'm in Chappell, Nebraska. You can't throw a rock without hitting 10 of the motherfuckers. Meanwhile, we don't have a whole lot of registered sex offenders. Why is that? Because we got petty, trivial shit to lock people up for. There's a man here in Nebraska. I'm about to look his name up. Man in Nebraska allowed to walk free after judge says he is too small for prison. And I'm sorry, I typed one-fingered. All right, May 26, 2006. A judge's decision to sentence a 5'1" man to probation instead of prison for, all right, that's the one. Ooh, this is from CBS News. Yeah, this is Nebraska, folks. I got all sorts of this shit. My old neighbor, she used to live, I don't know, about 60 feet from where I'm at right now. Her name is Susie. She killed Bob Mick. Anyway, this one says, a judge's decision to sentence a 5'1" man to probation instead of prison for sexually assaulting a child has angered crime victim advocates who say the punishment sends the wrong message. But supporters of short people say it's about time someone recognized the unique challenges they face. You know, I'm sure the little kid that he fucking raped should have had their situation recognized and the unique challenges that they face. Imagine being a kid who's raped in Sydney, Nebraska, knowing that your rapist has access to you, can harm you at any point in time. And people want special recognition because he's short. Yeah. Sure, that's equality, isn't it? Cheyenne County District Judge Christine Sakeva issued the sentence Tuesday. She told Richard W. Thompson that his crimes deserved a long prison sentence, but that he was too small to survive in a state prison. Now, there's more on this. Mind you, there's a man here in town. Judge Sakeva is a judge I'm familiar with. There was a guy here in town who was trumped up on bullshit charges. Bullshit marijuana charges, by the way. And of course, the guy who trumped up these charges was none other than Matt Worley, the meth addict, who the police did nothing about. And then he stole all of his mom's tools and sold them for meth. And of course, there's a guy named Drake here in town. Told me about a few other situations with Matt Worley that are. You don't do that shit to women. You don't do that shit to men. That shit is wrong. I don't care if you hired a prostitute or not. That money doesn't give you the right to tear somebody up like that. Well, let's get back to this. Chappell, Nebraska, where it's apparently okay to do these things. So this guy that I know, who had to deal with this trumped up bullshit, all this meth in this goddamn town, and the cops only cared about weed. Where else are we dealing with that? Oh yeah, it's fucking nationwide. There's just too much meth for them to do anything about it. There are too many people who know how to make meth for them to do anything about it. There are too many people addicted to it for them to do anything about it. What did Judge Sakeva tell my friend? She told him he's got to get right with God. Okay. This guy's not on drugs. Definitely doesn't fuck with meth. Doesn't even fucking smoke weed. And definitely not a sexual predator. And he has selling marijuanas on his permanent record because the word of a meth head meant more than his. Explain that to me. So we got this 31-year-old dating a 16-year-old, and apparently that makes it okay. Oh, she's a year older. She crossed this little threshold here, so it's okay. Now it's too late to pursue this man, is it? No, it's not. See, although this little girl is completely infatuated with him and thinks that she's more mature because she got herself an old dude. And sure, he's not that old. He's only 31. But the fact is, there is no statute of limitations on rape. There is no statute of limitations on child molestation. So he is one argument away from going to prison. So if it gets to that point, what are the chances that he will kill her rather than go to prison? Yeah. Merry fucking Christmas, assholes. You go ahead and call me all the names that you want. Call me retarded, call me stupid, call me ugly. In all my years of life, none of that has been enough to get me to shut up about child molesters. You want to shut me up, it's going to take a bullet. Yeah. Andrew Witcher, you should have kept your word. You didn't. That I moved on from. But you molesting your stepdaughter, she's not related to you by blood, but she is. Andrew Witcher, you need to get off the fucking meth. You're lucky Amy loves you more than she loves her own kids. I think that's fucking disgusting, Andrew. So, I'd like to get the story recorded from the actual witnesses. Obviously, the cops aren't going to do shit. There's no reason for them to do their jobs. If they do their jobs, it increases their chances of getting into trouble. Because if they investigate the crimes against me, it lends ear to what I'm going through. They have to play the mentally ill card in order to cover up for their crimes. And I don't have any sort of backup for it because I'm not the right color. You know, I wasn't black when I was raped as a kid. I wasn't black when I went into the system as a kid. I wasn't black when I was beaten up in the system for the color of my skin. I wasn't black when I stood up for black people. I wasn't black when I was aged out of the system and made homeless. I wasn't black for any of that, but I still lived it. Meanwhile, there's actual child molesters out there. There's actual rapists out there. There are actual murderers out there. And I've been through 4 years of extreme hell after dealing with a lifetime of hell. A bullet to my head is the only way to shut me up. Maybe one right here to my heart. I want you to shut me up. I want you to put a bullet in me. If I'm dead, you'll have to find somebody else to victimize. If I'm dead, you have to find somebody else to blame your problems on. And if I'm dead, your fucking conscience will eat you to death. I don't want to speak out anymore. I just want my life to be over. A life without love is not worth living. I got basically two friends in town that I talk to. One of them only when he's extremely drunk. Highly intelligent, but pretty much entirely antisocial unless he's drinking. The other one doesn't drink. Well, he does, but not to get drunk. He gets off work, he has one beer, and that's it. That's weird for a Nebraskan. One beer usually means two. A couple of beers usually means a lot more than that. So, between those two people, one of them I can have a conversation with. We have things in common. Well, all three of us have things in common. Special interests, things that all three of us are interested in. But meanwhile, I can't have a conversation with a drunk. He says the same thing. The last probably 10 times I've gone to see him, he says the same thing over and over. I don't care about Thanos. I don't care about Darth Vader. You want to live in a fantasy world at your age, that's fine. But I don't have that luxury. I can understand having a philosophical conversation about that once, especially when you're drunk. But when you're stuck on it, every time you get drunk, you go back to that. When it gets to the point where you're asking the person that you're sitting with, did I talk to you about Thanos yet? Holy Jesus, fuck, dude. Yeah, you were just telling me that you are on Thanos' side like maybe 2 minutes ago. Yeah, you did. Now, these two friends that I hang out with in town, one of them, I've got him recorded talking about having sex with a 14-year-old girl. And that 14-year-old girl is an adult and a mother now. But what am I supposed to do with it? The cops don't give a shit. I've tried to send them so much stuff about child molesters and rapists, and they just don't give a shit. I mean, for Christ's fucking sake, somebody help me do something. A lot of these sexual predators get away with it. They get away with it because there is consent from the minor. And although legally she can't give consent, that doesn't matter. It really doesn't. You fuck the sheriff's daughter, it'll make a difference. I guarantee you that. But this is Chappell, Nebraska. Fuck. Having sex with children is basically their second pastime. What's the first one? Drinking. Yeah, that's pretty much what you have to encounter here in Nebraska. Drinking and fucking your own kids. Oh, I forgot to mention that part, didn't I? Most of these predators are parents, and it's their own offspring that they're fucking. At least that 31-year-old isn't fucking his own daughter. At least the 14-year-old that other friend of mine was dating. At least it wasn't his fucking daughter. The other thing is there's that whole consent thing. That 14-year-old girl, while she was dating him, she had her mother's consent. She had her grandmother's consent. Shit, me, him, and her all worked for her grandmother. But she's a player. She does harmful things to men for entertainment. A lot of people tell me just to let it go. You know, that's fine and dandy when you don't have to deal with the things that I do. And that's difficult to explain to anybody. Like trying to explain how you get treated when you're a homeless person or when they tag you with mentally ill. They do the same things that black folks are complaining about. Meanwhile, it's happening on a much larger scale. If we're going to do something about police brutality, we got to do something about police brutality. Making it a race issue is not doing anything about police brutality. If we're going to do something about rapists, you need to do more than just talk about it. You need to get off your ass. Now, this 31-year-old, if he breaks up with this 16-year-old and she doesn't want to press charges, you know, he already has a couple other little girls lined up that absolutely eat his shit up for fucking breakfast. He can go, all right, well, she's 16. She's too old for me, so I'm going to go for a younger one. Larry Martinez, he got to kill a woman, got to shoot her on the fucking head after bashing one woman's eye socket in. He had a history of violence before that, too. You know, the most fucked up part of all this is that I don't know that redhead's name. I already know she ain't nothing but trouble. But the thing going through my head is, God, I hope you don't get into an argument. Because he's going to be afraid you might tell on him. And he might fucking kill you. Of course, what am I supposed to do? The cops don't give a shit about anything I have to say. That's what happens when you try to turn in corrupt cops. They tell you, hey, you should turn it into their superior. Well, what does that do? It allows their superior to start covering up crimes immediately, because by law, they're not apparently allowed to investigate themselves. So why do I have to inform them first? Why am I required by law to give them a heads up, allowing them to destroy evidence and manufacture a lie to get away with the crimes that they committed? Why is that necessary? Why is that the way that it works with the police? But it's not that way with anyone else. Well, I was treated as if I was a rapist and a child molester and a murderer. I've never raped anybody. I've never killed anybody. But I still have people who chase me around and follow me places. That farm out west of Lodgepole, that's probably close to 11 to 12 miles away from where I'm at right now. Chris Kurth, who the police didn't do anything about, including officers Cody Selhorst, Jared Hahn, and of course, another officer who showed up afterwards, Greenman. And then, of course, you got Sheriff Scott Costa. Did they do anything about Chris Kurth? No. And they're not going to. That's why he was allowed to pursue me across jurisdictional lines to do whatever he wanted. This jurisdictional bullshit needs to go away. I've been explaining to y'all that these predators are allowed to get away with these things because police allow it. police officers who I had to try to get into a court of law, police who had motive and intent to commit these crimes. Somehow it's magically okay, isn't it? Yeah, the 16-year-old redheaded girl is not mature. She's a drama queen. And finding out that a young woman had her life threatened because he was afraid of going to prison. You know, if you just keep your dick out of children, you don't have to worry about that, or rather, you shouldn't. You're not homeless, dude. They're not going to railroad you like they do the homeless. You'll probably get leniency. Fuck this goddamn country.